Is Starfield headed to the PS5? Well, in my latest video, I argue that the recently announced 60 FPS update for Starfield on the Xbox Series X, it ties everything together. In that video, I walked through 30 FPS clues, announcements, things that Todd Howard said. I talk about the rumors about games coming from Xbox to PlayStation. I go to Phil, I go to Satya, I go through a lot. And then I end with my prediction. I break down the performance modes and talk about how this is going to be this is the first Xbox first-party game to do something we haven't seen before. So be sure to check out that video, okay? I do a lot of research, put all my thoughts into it, and what you're watching right now, you might be watching it later, is a live stream. You're like, why is this so long? Well, the shorter video is literally just basically the monologue that we used to open my live shows with. So if you want to make sure you are here for these live shows, hit subscribe, hit the bell button, and if you're watching this later, be sure to hit like and subscribe. Be sure to check out that video. Be sure to go watch it so that you know my thoughts. And now, it's time to hear your thoughts. So, I'm going to be talking with you guys in the live audience right now about this. You guys just came from the premiere. Hopefully, if you didn't, go check it out and then come back. And we greatly appreciate you guys supporting those premieres. It is a wonderful way to support the live stream because we basically start there and then we come over here. So I want to know what you guys think about this. And I do know we got a gifted member during the premiere from Stonespire. So we're going to give him credit. We're going to say Han shot first and so did you, Stonespire. And then Mike on the mic is coming in and gifting as well. And Joker Quinn's coming in and gifting as well to start the day extremely strong. Thank you guys so much for doing that. Basically, you're going to need 95 members today and 95 members tomorrow. If you guys want the Rage game on Friday night, that's very doable. Let's just shoot for 100 members today and tomorrow. You guys crushed it last week. The goals are smaller at the beginning of the month, and we ramp up the incentives as the month goes on. And if you guys missed it, we played Fall Guys on Friday night for all of the members and with members, and Creature played, and it was hilarious. So thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure you go through the morning ritual. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Smash that like button. And a 5-bomb comes in from P-Dub H-Town. Thank you so much, P-Dub H-Town. Greatly appreciate that. And Savage Sharkbite renews his membership 32 months, and it's a member plus. Appreciate you guys so much. So what do you think? Did I make a compelling argument, right? A lot of people are going to look at this 60 FPS update and they're going to land on it in a variety of ways, right? I watched Doc Dark's video. I was like, Doc, we were right. They were able to do this all along. It wasn't a creative decision, right? And now you've also got people like myself saying, this looks an awful lot like PlayStation 5 preparation. V-Game Veteran, thank you so much for gifting a member as well, taking us to 9 members on the day. Nice strong start, man. Nice strong start with likes and members. You guys are crushing it. And another one comes in from Lone Wolf and takes us to 10 members on the day. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel like that. If you guys have never done a membership before on YouTube, it supports me directly. I mean, we don't do a ton of sponsors. I am wearing a shirt from Into the AM. We do work with them. You can use my code or link below. Use code Lono. But we don't really do tons of sponsors. You guys sponsor the show with those memberships. So if you've never done a membership before on YouTube, consider clicking join. It gets you into behind the scenes content. And Creature comes in with 3 years at a member plus. Starfield's going to be a hot item for the PS5 Pro. And Lone Wolf drops a 5-bomb. Here we go. Bit of a member train going on right now. You guys hear 100 members in a day and you're like, we can do that. No problem. If you get a gifted membership, be sure to get into our Discord. Get plugged in. You don't want to miss the behind the scenes content or those Friday night streams with my wife. They are really a fun time. Doc was spot on, as you were. I appreciate that. It's because if Starfield comes over, there's no reason any other game wouldn't come over. It's a single big player game with no live service elements. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I know people are floating around the quotes or I guess the things that like Jez Corden has been saying in his Discord. Now, he said some of that is not him speaking factually. It's him sort of making predictions. He believes that, yeah, everything's going to come over, which that's probably based on things he's heard or people that he's spoken to, right? He's making an informed prediction. And another 5-bomb comes in from PWH-Town, and a single comes in from Joker Quinn. 21 members already, off to such a screaming start. Silver Subaru with 39 months and a VIP says, let's go, chat. Starfield on PS5 could be very interesting. You want to make sure when you see those quotes being attributed to Jez Corden, be fair to him, he's just making predictions in his Discord, and people are making it sound as though he's speaking in the know. I think his opinions are informed. I think he's spoken to enough of the people on the green side of the fence, and he's like, oh yeah, everything's coming. At this point, there's no reason not to move everything. That when you have 7 of the top 25 games, on PS5, and you're bragging about that to your shareholders, the shareholders are going to be like, great, do more of that. You understand that what that does? You don't go on an earnings call and say, yeah, we just made a ton of money. We have property over there that's top selling. You're setting a precedent when you do that. Shareholders are going to say, oh, awesome. You're signaling to us that you're going to do more of this. Right? Like, it makes perfectly good sense. Darth Nihilus comes in with a gifted member and takes us to 22. DK Bager comes in with a gifted member and takes us to 23. Thank you guys so much, man. So close. Every 25, I give 5. That means when you guys gift, if we hit 100 members today, I owe you 20. I'll do 5 all along the way. Thank you so much. And Takashi gets one of them. Welcome on in, everybody. Curious what you guys think. Bender of Strings says, it's just common sense. The second I heard this news, I thought the same thing. They wouldn't put this much effort into something for such a small user base. Yeah, what do you guys think about that aspect of my argument? And a single comes in from Narwaffle and takes us to 24. What do you guys think about that aspect of my argument? That why would a first-party Xbox studio give 8... It's stuck. Why would they give 8 performance mode options to the smallest user base in the Xbox console, platform? Dark Taco with 19 months in a VIP, loving the new format. We just get right into it. I hope you guys like this. If you like the fact that I start the live stream and I immediately just jump into talking to you, then please support those premieres. They go live every day at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And if you're like, hey, I love the live shows, and if you like the fact that we're just jumping right into it, then do me a favor, show those premieres love. If you can't watch them right at 9:30, be sure to watch them later, like, and leave a comment. DK Bager comes in and gifts one, and Keithius gets us past 25 and does Agent of Chaos. Thank you so much, Keithius. Taking us to 26. I now owe you guys 5, which I will do right now. Thank you guys so much for such a great start on the day. If you guys get a gifted membership and you really enjoy it and you benefit from it, if you like seeing the behind-the-scenes content, if you like getting into the Discord and those Friday night streams with my wife, consider picking up the membership yourself. It does make room for more people. There's a lot of people right now who can't afford a membership. If you can, it supports the channel directly. It enables us to do more and get more people in the door as well. Because they're owned by Microsoft, and it should have been there since the beginning, says Kylo Green. And Michael comes in with a 5 spot. Very, very generous lately with lots of super chats. Thank you so much. Says, as an Xbox fan, I don't mind Starfield going to PlayStation. I just want my Game Pass, and if PlayStation wins, Xbox wins too. Would be nice if you gave us PlayStation exclusives. Catwalk with 14 months in a VIP, and Machiavelli hits 10 months of memberships. Thank you, Machiavelli. Says, now that Starfield got 60 FPS, it's ready for a PS5 port. Did Sony help Bethesda? Let's talk about that. And that was part of the premiere. It was part of my upload. You're going to want to go watch that. I combed over a lot of things. I combed over rumors and interviews and statements. And the rumor about Starfield that was started by Xbox Era, well, it actually wasn't started by them. We were one of the first ones to make a video about it. I actually speculated that it was going to be a timed exclusive last year in an upload. And that was just me speculating based on the language that they were using, and I got shredded for that, and it seemingly was, I think, a good observation. And then early this year, we said it was coming, got a lot of hate, got ridiculed and attacked for that. And then Xbox Era comes out and says, oh, it's coming, and they also said that they had invested in PS5 dev kits. Now, I'm drawing a connection here between they got sent PS5 dev kits and they just added 8 performance modes to a first-party Xbox title, never before seen in a first-party Xbox title. There are no Xbox first-party titles right now with, 8 performance nodes. Now, Forza Horizon might come close. It might be the one that it actually might have close to the same. However, this is going to be the very first first-party Xbox title to offer 60 to the X, but not to the S. We had thought there was a performance parity clause for the first-party developers. We thought that they had basically said, if you want to ship your game with 60, it needs to offer that to both consoles. We had a theory that was going on. Well, if they dropped that parity clause for their first-party studios, you have to ask the question, why would they suddenly do it now? Why would you do it with something as popular as Starfield? And if people are going to push back and say, well, because of the user feedback, again, you're doing it for the smallest user base. It doesn't seem like something that you would put lots of priority on. You never got the alert from the premiere? Yeah, guys, if you're not getting notifications for the premieres, but you're getting notifications for the live streams, it's probably because you only really watch my live streams traditionally. It doesn't mean you're not watching the premieres. It means that YouTube is essentially saying, oh, you enjoy his live streams, here's a live stream. So maybe toggle your notifications off and on. Make sure you're here every day at 9:30 so you don't miss them, and then it might start feeding you. And Risic comes in with a gifted member and takes us to 27. Thank you so much, Risic. I appreciate that so much. Definitely supported by the fact that Satya Nadella is boasting about the games on the PlayStation Store. The original PS5 build was likely different, but this port shouldn't be an issue. That's another theory I trotted out yesterday, and I've trotted out before, that there was a PlayStation version of Starfield. We know this. They were in early talks to make it an exclusive. It's a matter of public record that they bought ZeniMax, Microsoft bought ZeniMax to prevent Starfield from being exclusive to PlayStation. That's a matter of public record in the court documents. We know that was their motivation, okay? So, I want you to consider something. That would mean there was a version of Starfield being built for the PlayStation 5, which would mean it's not going to be that difficult to get that up and ready. There might have been features. There might have been, performance things. There might have been things that were already ready to go, and they're able to bring those into the game much quicker now. If you remember, something similar happened with No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky lost a ton of production man-hours and content and things of that nature. They had a flood at the studio. And then the game launched, and it was very bare bones, and was highly criticized. And then in very short order, it was like 6 months, then another 6 months, and another 6 months. It was like every 6 to 8 months, they were pushing out pretty good quality of life updates to No Man's Sky. In a very short amount of time, No Man's Sky sort of reinvented itself. It took maybe 12 to 18 months. Now, somebody might look at that and say, how are they able to do that so quickly? Well, it's because a lot of the work had already been done. They knew what they wanted to do, okay? They knew how they wanted to approach it. Well, that could be a similar scenario right now with Starfield. There was a version of this game for the PlayStation 5. I highly doubt they deleted all of that. So that could make for a more expeditious update of Starfield. There could be features coming. There could be updates coming to lay the groundwork for Shattered Space. But in general, it could be just making the game better because there was a version already in existence that was sort of streamlined for one platform. Eugene here says, I'm not really seeing anybody dispute this isn't prep for the PS5 version. The bots, he means like the hardcore Xbox fans, they aren't even celebrating this. Even they know it's not for them. And 2 gifted members come in from Stone Spire. I know what Stone Spire's doing. He's going to do a third one. This man sets these up. I'm just going to put 30 because I know this guy. I'm in his head. He's the man. He's setting up a 20-bomb dunker. 30 members out of the next goal of 50. If we hit 50, I gift another 5. He's asking somebody. He's tantalizing somebody. He's saying, come on, somebody slam home this 20-bomb. Thank you so much, Stone Spire. You're the man. Yeah, I really felt like I was going to get a ton of pushback on this. That's what I felt. I thought, if I run this story, if I put out my tweet, I was like, why do you guys think this is happening now? I was actually sort of shocked at what felt like everybody just sort of admitting what I was thinking. Like I told you guys yesterday, I was like, I'm not going to tell you my theory. I want to do this show tomorrow. And like, that's everybody's theory. They're like, oh no, yeah, this is prep for PS5. And DK Bager says, I'm going to bump the line. So DK Bager sets up the 20 bomb to be an agent of chaos. Thank you so much, DK Bager. You're the man. When will this happen? I mean, according to Xbox Era, it's coming after the Shattered Space DLC. So I would imagine Shattered Space DLC lands this fall, and that's their sort of 2.0 moment for the game. And then what they would do is they would take that, package it together in a complete edition, or whatever they would call it, Interstellar Edition, something like that, and then they would bring that over to the PlayStation sometime next year. That would be my prediction on it. I think that stands to reason. I don't know if you want, I mean, maybe I could be wrong about this, but I don't know if you would want to muddy the marketing waters for Shattered Space with also saying, oh, it's also coming to PlayStation. I feel like that mixes up your messaging, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that mixes up your messaging. You want to have very clear, straight line messaging. It's like, this is coming, you know, Shattered Space is coming this fall, and you show everything and you get everybody excited. And then later, you know, we get into 2025, and they're like, we are excited to announce that, you know, that a complete edition of Starfield is coming to PlayStation. Yo, Joker Quinn with a 5 bomb takes us to 36. He says, look, if nobody's going to take the 20 bomb bait, he's like, I'll bump the line by myself. Thank you so much, Joker Quinn, for doing that. It'll be November, 1 year after the Starfield release. Satya wants his money. I mean, okay, so some of you guys are pushing back on timing here. You know, I could see them doing a Shattered Space lands October-ish, November-ish, and then, I don't know, they could use the Game Awards to announce it, and then it's this big hyped-up thing for December. I don't know. I mean, I'm not opposed to thinking that they could do it, that they could bring Starfield to PlayStation in the same year that they launched the DLC. That doesn't, like, my gut instinct on that says no. They would want to have a very straight line runway to Shattered Space, and then they would make sure whatever they're bringing to PlayStation is just really solid, complete package. Now, again, it might be very easy for them to do that more quickly because there was already a version of this game built for PlayStation 5 to begin with. Detective says, I could actually see them having Jeff Keighley announce it at the Game Awards. That way that it's coming to PlayStation so that technically Xbox doesn't have to. I could be convinced of that's not a bad theory, that like they would want him to do it. It would soften the blow, you know. We know from Tim Dog that they tried to use Keighley before to soften the blow about price of the Xbox. So they like to use like alternative sources for some of the announcements that might be less favorable to the Xbox crowd. By the way, guys, we've only been streaming for 18 minutes. We tried a new format where I jump right into the live discussion with you. So if you missed the premiere, if you want to know my full thoughts on this, go check that out. It's right now on the channel, and you can watch that and get my thoughts. You know, throw it on like a 1.5 or like a 2, and you can watch it fairly quickly. It's called Starfield is Preparing for PS5. So be sure to check that out. And also do me a favor, smash that like button. There's almost 600 people here. Let's set our sights on 200 likes. We've already crushed a good chunk of the goal today. We're trying to get 100 members today and 100 members tomorrow, and then I'll do a rage game Friday night in my stream with my wife, and you guys will get to enjoy that. So always make sure you go through that ritual, especially you guys that lurk. You know, take a second if you're on mobile, minimize chat, hit that thumbs up. It does help out the video. Starfield 60 FPS on the PS5 is a day one for me. Well, and if you look at how they're changing things, I mean, if you look at the city maps and the adjustments that they're making to, well, I don't know if they're going to make these adjustments. Sorry, I was baking in my assumption. I feel like they're going to have to make adjustments to the size of the tiles when you land on a planet. Right? Like, if they're going to give you a vehicle to drive around in, Don't you think that that means they'll give you larger areas? I mean, I might be being too presumptive about the speed of the vehicle. If the speed of the vehicle is roughly 2 times faster than you are on foot, it would be quicker, but then it might not require a larger area. That's just a gut instinct thing. I'm like, if you're going to give us vehicles, I feel like you're going to have to make those areas larger. The size of the planet tiles are huge. Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to go in the same direction nonstop to get to the edge, so it might not matter. Like, who's really going to get in their little dune buggy and just like, yeah, I'm going to drive in this direction for 2.5 minutes? I don't think very many people are going to do that, so they might not need to make the tiles any bigger. Yo, what's good, Drumman? What's good, Feed? I see you in the chat. Jeff needs to wrap it up with the Game Awards, where 10% of the votes only count and 90% of so-called journalists. I mean, you're saying so-called journalists. It's a pretty elaborate, jury of people voting. And if it was just a matter of the community voting, that would be an absolute disaster. You'd have to filter out the bots. It would be a popularity contest, so smaller titles would never get enough votes. It just wouldn't work. This guy says, you crap all over the game, but you ponies never stop talking about it coming to PlayStation. Utterly pathetic. I would say your comment is utterly pathetic. Yes, I would. I don't think anybody crapped all over the game. Now, there are certainly people who did, but I played it quite a bit, and I even started to turn the corner. I even did a video talking about, like, okay, I made adjustments to my expectations, and I started to enjoy the game, and then I played Phantom Liberty, and I was like, yeah, this is superior in so many ways, and so I just didn't see a reason to go back and play Starfield. Also, I said very many times that if I would have been able to play Starfield in my living room, it might have stood a stronger chance at me actually chiseling away at certain aspects of it, but I would have to come into my office to play it. This whole chat talks mad crap about Starfield. I feel like you're summarizing the behavior of the entire chat, which is something you can't do, and I've actually never seen that. I've regularly had people in here that say they enjoy Starfield, they've played a lot, they thought it was rather good. There are people that feel like, well, it was disappointing, but I still had a good time, with it. I don't think what you're doing is fair to the chat. I think there's plenty of people that have enjoyed it. I think there are people who have been really harsh about it and have hated on it, but that doesn't mean that everybody's only hated on it. Also, I was really harsh with Cyberpunk. I couldn't get into Cyberpunk. And then what did they do? They fixed a bunch of problems. They had a 2.0 moment. They had Phantom Liberty. I have a video on this channel saying that Starfield can learn from Cyberpunk. They can have a 2.0 moment. I've literally been cheering for the game to do that. If you don't hold a game to higher standards when it falls below expectations, then that's your choice as a gamer, but you sound like a sucker to me. You don't sound like somebody with standards. Everybody held No Man's Sky to the standards that they felt like it should have hit, and look how great that game is. Everybody held Cyberpunk to standards that they felt like it should have lined up to, and look what it did. It spent years improving itself, and then they had this big turnaround moment. Why would you not cheer for a game to be better? If Starfield is so amazing and has no flaws, then why did Bethesda commit to fixing it, doing an update every 6 weeks? Why are the patch notes for the game hundreds upon hundreds of fixed issues? Like, you can say that everybody doesn't just hates on the game, but like, I don't see evidence of that in this chat. I don't. I have plenty of people that push back and say that they've had a good time with it. I've had guests on my podcast who like the game. I don't think that that's an accurate representation at all of the community here. I was one of the people that trashed the game. However, that does not mean they couldn't fix it. Yeah, even if somebody is extremely harsh and very critical, there were people who were very harsh and very critical with Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky. Why would you not want a game to be talked about accurately and then put on a path of redemption? That would be, I guess, my question. What's the problem with that? Like, why is there an issue with saying this game fell well below expectations? Like, go look at the user scores. Go look at the user scores. Are those people just trashing and hating on Starfield? No, it didn't do a good job with the people who bought it, not the people who were bought. It's fair to critique Starfield when it released with features that were absent and now available, says Detective Seeds. We were told creative decision that was obviously false. It is fine to be critical when it falls short of expectations and the hype. That's exactly right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. The Verge is saying that Shattered Space is aiming for September. Yeah, I mean, you guys that were pushing back on timing might be right then. I don't know. September feels a little early. You know, that leaves October, November, December wide open. You know what I mean? Whoever said it was flawless. See how that works? Was that enjoyable Voodoo vibes for me to project onto you that you believe it's flawless as you projected onto me as well as chat that everybody hates it and just does nothing but trash it? It's not enjoyable to be falsely summarized, is it? That wasn't an enjoyable experience for you. Well, then don't do that to other people, right? If you can't take it, then don't do it yourself. True SSJ Havoc says, I was trashing Starfield. It deserved it, but I hope the game's update improves it with over 130 hours of experience. Right, that's somebody right there that's like, I want it to improve. I put over 100 hours into it. And they're like, yeah, I trashed it. There's a lot to be criticized. Eugene says they lied to our face again. Victor Mayhem says, look at the achievement numbers on Xbox. 50% of the people didn't even start the campaign, and nearly 40% didn't even hit level 5. I'll start a new tune after the update, though, myself. Yeah, right there. Right there is evidence that, like, if people are being critical of the game, that's evidenced by the review scores and the player behavior. It's not some agenda. It's not just a bunch of ponies. It's people that were anticipating the game. I bought the game twice. I bought the collector's edition. I covered it a ton. I was looking forward to it. It was one of my most anticipated games. I put over 110 hours into Fallout 4. Of course I was looking forward to Starfield. I don't know the number of hours I put into Skyrim. I guarantee you it's at least in the 50s or 60s. Maybe more. I'd have to boot it up on my Xbox to see. Kale with a Member Plus, welcome back. I mean, plenty of people look at a game differently and don't necessarily think, well, if it's bad, I just write it off. All the updates are preparing it for the PS5? I believe yes. Yes. I believe when you read the description of the performance modes, I believe when you look at the quality of life updates, they are preparing to sell this game. That's what they're getting ready to do. Do you think they're dedicating this level of bandwidth, time, and investments to people who can play it on Game Pass? To people who have already paid for it? To people who have already paid for Shattered Space? Is that who they're doing this for? I don't think so. I think they're signaling that they're getting this thing ready to sell to people. You just have to look at what they're saying and what they're doing. It's going to be a completely different game. Thank you so much, Patrick Q, for gifting a member and taking us to 37. Boys hype up these games prematurely, and every time the game doesn't live up to the hype that was placed on it. I do not believe that Starfield was overhyped and fell below hype. I believe that Starfield was overpromised and underdelivered. There's a giant difference between overhyping a game and then it's a little disappointing than a game that was severely overpromised and underdelivered. I think there's differences. I think trying to blame the consumer is unhelpful. I don't think you can be like, well, the consumer's overhyped it. Are you kidding me? Did you look at the marketing for this game? What other game got a 45-minute direct in the summer? What other game promised to be, you know, a game that was 25 years in the making? This is from their own trailers, right? This is their own behavior. I don't think you can blame the consumer. Like, yeah, well, the consumer's overhyped Starfield. I don't think so. God Tier Greatness with a $5 Super Chat tip says, I put in over 300 hours to the point where the only thing that worked was the final mission. It can be so much more than it currently is. Thank you. Like, the people, and this is something that I don't know if Doc Dark might show up today. I commented on his video last night. He's not happy. He's a friend of the show. He's been on the podcast a couple of times. And listen, I feel that this is one area where Doc and I don't agree. We agree about the 60 FPS thing. I comment on his video. I was like, we were right, Doc. We were right. They were selling us a bill of goods. They could get 60 for this thing on the Series X. He and I are disgruntled Series X owners, right? We're brothers in that, okay? And in other ways, we are also brothers. But I don't agree with how he's always talked about the reviews. He basically says, who puts 100 hours into a game and then says it's a trash game? And the problem with what he's doing, and this is the problem that very many people did with the Steam scores. This isn't unique to Doc, but I'm going to use him as an example because I don't think he'll mind. The mistake that Doc is making is that when you say, I don't recommend this game on Steam, it doesn't mean that you're saying the game is trash. That person might give the game a 6.5 or a 7 and be like, yeah, it's kind of lukewarm, it's kind of mediocre, this is not Bethesda's best work, so I don't recommend it. Like, if you go read the reviews of Starfield on Steam, they're usually rather nuanced. It's like they put over 100 hours in, and they break down every system of the game, and its flaws, and its problems, and its triumphs, and its good parts, its bad parts, and everything in between. And the culmination of their experience is one where they're like, I don't recommend this game. That's not them saying that it is trash. Now, the score on Steam, what it represents is, it represents the vast majority of the people playing the game right now are concluding that this is not a game they would recommend. That doesn't mean they don't put in 50, 60, 70, or 100 hours and comb over all the systems, especially if they're a Bethesda fan. If they're a Bethesda fan, they're not going to write the game off after 10 hours. They're like, well, let me give this thing some time. You know. Let me really kick the tires and test the shocks here. Like, they're really wanting to take the game to the distance. Why do you even play the game then? Well, you'd have to ask the people that did that. I don't know why. If you're a really big Bethesda fan, you're not going to play and be like, yeah, but it's bad, it's trash. Like, they put the time in, they build a character, they get to the end game, they get sort of maxed out, they roll over into New Game Plus, and then they can say, listen, I can't recommend this game. The bad outweighs the good. I love how people like Doc say, you put 100 hours into Starfield, how can you say you didn't like it? And then turn around and say, well, that person just played for 5 hours, how can they say they didn't like it? No, Doc's consistent on this, Dave. Doc is consistent on this. He has more respect for somebody that puts in 5 to 10 hours and says, I don't like this, and puts it down. He does. He says he doesn't tell people that they have to put in 25 or 50 hours before they can review the game. He doesn't do that. He is consistent in this regard. Minstree with 32 months in a VIP. Looking forward to playing this on the PlayStation and looking forward to PlayStation Showcase on June 9th. Thank you so much, Minstree, for renewing your membership. I love the seafood sensation sub at Subway. That doesn't mean I would recommend it to another person. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's the greatest analogy because you just said that you love it. I mean, there are times where, and again, this is where the scoring system on Steam doesn't give you, it's really dichotomous. You either give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So you could put 100 hours into the game and be like, you know, I had a decent time. It wasn't trash. It wasn't great. I don't really want to play anymore. And my overall impression of the game is a thumbs down. There's more bad here than good. You don't get that in the person's, you know, if all you do is see the thumbs down. You just, oh, it's trash and you played for 100 hours. And it's like, well, no, the person's not saying it's trash. The thumbs down for them might just represent their lack of confidence, or their, you know, they just don't think it's worth recommending. You don't get that when you just see a thumbs up and a thumbs down. You don't get the nuance of their position or their thoughts, like the pros and the cons that they likely, you know, outlined in their description, right? I'm sorry, in their review when they like write it out. It's normal to review a game that you have to play a lot. How am I going to review something if I don't play it? Doc played a good set of hours in God of War Ragnarok and he called it boring. It didn't have a jump button. Oh, well, the jump thing is a bit of a meme and a gag with him, but I don't think he likes. I mean, I don't want to speak for the man, but the way he talks about, he liked Horizon Zero Dawn, but he didn't like Forbidden West, and he thought Ragnarok was boring. So I don't know if his palate changed. I don't know. I think sometimes you have to be in the mood for certain games. So I don't know if maybe his preferences and his palate has changed. That's always, a possibility. Let me read some of the comments on the upload, because that upload is just freaking cooking right now. Vampire Nobly says, of course Xbox rushed it out. Felt like Series S slowed things down. I still believe that when Phil Spencer says they flooded Bethesda to help them get Starfield ready to be on their technology, what technology? What are you talking about? Why would Bethesda suddenly need your help? I believe they were helping them get it to work on the Series S. That's what I believe. Derek says, come on, no game has taken more of my time than Fallout 4, but I wrote a lengthy and fair review. There would be a lot that wasn't glowing, and my recommendation would depend on what you play. Well, and that's fine. I mean, and that's part of the problem with how you recommend things on Steam. You can't be like, well, I give it a thumbs up if, or I give it a thumbs down if. Like, you just give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Captain Ziggy on the upload says, no reason this shouldn't have been available at launch. The creative choice was straight up nonsense. I agree with that. I don't think the creative choice is ever a good excuse. True SSJ Gohan or Havoc says, this is too much evidence. It's all been telegraphed. Also, the fact that Phil would not deny Starfield coming over either. The writing has been on the wall for a long time. Yeah, I left that out of the video. I probably should have included the fact that Phil kept Starfield on the table when asked about it. Narwaffle says, this all makes sense to me. They're getting ready to drop Starfield Complete Edition and the Shatterspace DLC on PS5. That is how I see it too. That's how I see it. Some kind of a complete edition. And a 20 bomb comes in from Smiley. He takes us all the way past 50 out of nowhere. This man says, if we need 100 members on the day, I'll give you a chunk of it. Thank you so much, Smiley. That's a big one. If you get a gifted member, make sure and say thank you to Smiley and get in the Discord. It's linked in the description below. Make sure you're here every day, man. We do a behind-the-scenes show at the end of the day. There's Friday night streams with my wife. You get access to all of that. If that sounds cool, you're like, behind the scenes, you do a Friday night stream with your wife, become a member right now. Click join. I would love to see a new member train that wasn't gifted. We would love to see some of y'all get committed, get involved, support what we do here. Brian M. says, how about Digital Foundry making more silly excuses for Xbox back at Starfield's release? Okay, well, I would need to go watch what Digital Foundry said. Smiley with 28 months in a VIP, welcome back. Because I remember a lot of people were like, oh, Digital Foundry's running damage control for Xbox and they're defending the decision. And I put out a video saying they're not defending the decision. They're explaining why this game runs the way that it runs. Do you think you're going to get a lock 60 the whole time? Do you? Has anybody done a breakdown yet? Dreaded Montana says, Smiley, how you miss me? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think Digital Foundry is going to end up looking like they were wrong. I think when they push out this performance mode and you select performance 60, I think there'll be times where you'll drop some frames. There'll also be times where you'll notice that, the degradation of the resolution and things of that nature. I don't think Digital Foundry said anything that was wrong. They said what I said multiple times yesterday. They just were nicer about it. It's the frickin' engine, man. It's the engine. Sorcerer with 35 months in a VIP, so close to 3 years. And Hilly with 39 months in a VIP. Let's celebrate the Xbox Series X absolute W. Let's go. Good to see you, Hilly. They claim Starfield was CPU bound, and that's why it couldn't go 60 on the X. Where they digital? Are you sure they claim that? Are you misremembering? That sounds like the Dragon's Dogma 2 stuff. Digital Foundry said it was CPU bound, and that's why it couldn't hit 60. I thought they went into detail about the engine and how they have object permanence and size of the areas and the lighting. I thought they went into far more detail that like that would make it really difficult. Because the clip I saw, John Linneman basically said they've been able to do 60 FPS since the 80s. It's a matter of how much the devs want to do, and then can we get a stable 60? Or can we get a stable 30? And they're going to go where they get stability. Yo, Zachary Guy gifts a member and takes us to 58. Thank you so much. Digital Foundry proved it could be. Yeah, you're also forgetting that Digital Foundry is the outlet that proved you could get 60 FPS on the X. And a 10 bomb comes in from Terminal Stupidity, and he takes us to 68. So close to the next milestone where I gift 5. I actually haven't gifted the 5 that I owe you guys yet, have I? Because I owe you for the 50. I don't think I've done it yet. Let me check my email. I don't think I've done it. A 2 spot from It's Tommy, mate. Crisis 3 looks better than Starfield. Yeah, I don't know how you can hate on Digital Foundry when they tried to explain at a technical level why it might be limited, and then they proved that 60 was possible on the Series X. Like, I think folks are jumping the gun. Like, don't do that thing where you're upset about something, and because Digital Foundry made the mistake of stepping out and attempted to offer an explanation why Starfield might be limited, and everyone's like, yeah, they're out here defending it. And a 10 bomb comes in from Smiley and takes us to 78. I now owe you another 5. You guys are absolutely crushing it today. Smiley is tag teaming now with Terminal Stupidity. Unbelievable. If you guys get a gifted member, that's so many gifted members already today, man. Get in our Discord. If you enjoy the perks of a gifted membership in the past or today, consider upgrading. It's $1 to upgrade, or just pick up your own membership and pay for it. That way you always get access to everything and don't miss out, and you make room for others. What about me, Smiley? Drummond, you have a badge. You're asking for a membership and you have a badge, dude. Yo, Nitro Fusion. 2 spot. A $2 super chat tip says, hey, Lono, how's it going, man? Love the show so far. Thank you so much. Hang on. I keep getting emails from the YouTube receipts. I was like, what is happening? Sven with 34 months in a VIP. I'm closer to a 3-year badge than Hellblade 2 is getting 60 FPS on console. And a 10 bomb comes in from PWH Town. It's a 10 bomb member train. You guys are going the distance today. 88 members. And it's Tommy, mate, with a $5 super chat says, I used to think you were a silly pony, but now I respect you, Reforge. Well, I appreciate that. That's very kind. We've had a lot of people attempt to, paint that picture rather falsely. Micah with a 5 spot says, we give you Starfield and State of Decay and Indiana Jones. You give us Ghost of Tsushima, Bloodborne, and Helldivers. Game for game, whatever you want. Sadly, it doesn't work that way. PlayStation would have zero desire to do that. They really would. There's no reason for them to damage their brand's dominance or market dominance in as well as to take their products that are right now identity defining for their platform and spend money to put on a platform where even third-party developers are questioning putting games on Xbox. Nobody knows the future. The hardware sales are going to influence that. Jaggy Snake with 32 months in a VIP says, May the 2nd be with you. Thank you so much. Like, I want you to think about that. If you're a third-party developer right now and you see the Xbox hardware continuing to flounder and drop, and you see your own sales in the past or sales figures right now in the present, why does Xbox 2 then? I'm not sure what you mean, Raven. Like, there's just never there's never going to be a time, at least not right now, excuse me, there's never been a time in the present where it would make sense for them to do that. Now, in the future, the world would have to flip all the way upside down. PlayStation needs to sell games? Not necessarily. If you would spend X amount of dollars to bring it over to another platform and not make that money back, then no, that wouldn't be, oh, they're selling games. I think that's too simplistic of a view of it. They're also taking identity-defining, platform-defining titles. Like, it's just, I'm sorry, it's delusional to think that PlayStation's going to do that. They're not going to do that. There isn't a universe where it makes sense for them to take very successful franchises that are platform flagships and take them to Xbox. You know what I mean? Lono, changes to direction concerning subs is fantastic. Oh, I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys like it. The fact that Gifteds get to come to Writer's Room and Gifteds get to come to Friday night. I hope you guys like that. I also hope you guys consider saying, hey, I really believe in what's going on here. I'm going to take up my own membership. I'm not going to wait for a Gifted. That would mean a lot if we really would like to see more people doing that. The generosity of the gifters is amazing. We really want to see more folks picking up their own membership. That really is a core principle here of what we do and what we'd like to see. William Breimer jumps back in. PWH-Town with a $5 super chat tip says, at this moment, PlayStation is more important to Microsoft than Xbox is. Hard to disagree with that, given the earnings call with Satya Nadella. 2-spot from Michael. It would be pro-consumer, though, and they do Steam. Pro-consumer is a misnomer. These companies are pro-profit. That pro-consumer is not a thing. Now, you can lean toward the consumer and do things that are beneficial to the consumer, but even in doing that, they're seeking your money. If a company does something like what Helldivers does with no FOMO on their war bonds, and the war bonds are always available, and they really respect the player's time, and you can grind the premium currency, so you don't have to spend any money in that game. All of those things you could say are pro-consumer. No, they're not. They're pro-profit. They're pro-engagement. They're pro-DAU and MAU. They want more people logging in each day and week and month so that then they're more likely to spend money. There's no such thing as a company doing something altruistically. Oh, but they do stuff for charity. Yeah, it's a tax write-off. Like, wake up. That's not a thing. There's no publicly traded shareholder relationship where a C-suite's going to be like, but this would be very nice to do for the consumer. That's a real fast way to get voted out or fired. Get to a C-suite level at these companies, right? Get on the board at Microsoft and start talking like that. You wouldn't come back the next day. They'd let you go. They're like, you know what? You're better suited for charity work. That's what they would tell you. Have you ever been around executive level employees? They're ruthless. That's why they're at the level that they are. They're pro-profit, which is why you won't see games from PlayStation. You won't see Ghost of Tsushima or God of War come to Xbox. There's no angle where they would make enough profit to justify the damage to the brand. What you're trading is humongous. Look just for a second. Look at what has happened to the Xbox brand in just 5 months. All it took was a couple of barrels of gasoline and a couple of sticks of dynamite, and everything has been, in many people's minds, destroyed. Everything. The identity of the brand is in a shambles. I'm not saying objectively. I'm saying in the minds of many people, it's like, well, why do you think the hardware sales are going down? They communicated at the beginning of this year they're taking their titles elsewhere. So why would I buy an Xbox? That's not going to convince third-party developers to put games on Xbox, and it certainly isn't going to convince PlayStation to do it. Why do you think Chris Dring came back from GDC. He's over there at GameIndustry.biz. Why do you think he came back from the GDC? And he was like, there are third-party developers that are questioning putting their games on Xbox because they're like, what's Xbox even doing over there? Hardware's dropping continually. They're putting their games on other platforms. We traditionally don't sell that well over there anyway. Like, why would we keep doing this? If you think in that setup economically that PlayStation would say, yeah, let's port our games over there, I think you're being delusional. I don't think you're being reasonable or logical about it. Michael with a 2-spot says they can be both pro-consumer and make profit. Okay, but you have to understand, it's not just pro-consumer if the motivation is to make profit. Pro-consumer creates an idea that, like, they're doing this for you. No, they're doing it for them, and you just happen to benefit in the process. Street Shadow with a $10 super chat says porting is not just push to port. You need to buy kits, train the devs, take them off of other projects. And for what? Microsoft isn't doing this because it's pro-consumer. Put them onto Sony's spot in a different story. Right, all you have to do is look at Satya Nadella's comments to see that Microsoft's not doing this because it's pro-consumer. Microsoft is doing this because it makes them money. That's why they're doing it. PlayStation users aren't buying games. You gotta start watching content that doesn't just lie to you, bro. What are you talking about? Did you see the sales? Did you see the sales reports for Helldivers? Like, what are you even talking about? And then you said, watch this holiday with Call of Duty? Yeah. PlayStation makes a ton of money off of Call of Duty. Sure, we'll watch that. What are you going to try to compare revenue now? Is that what's going to happen? Is that the new is that the new competition? You know? Well, but Microsoft's going to make more money off of Call of Duty because they own it. Oh, okay. And what? Who cares? PlayStation's gonna make a ton of money off Call of Duty. They do every year. Like, half of the people who buy Call of Duty buy it on PlayStation. And do you want to know what's gonna happen? That number's gonna go up because people are leaving Xbox for PlayStation. Microsoft has the marketing rights. Okay, all right. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. Helldivers 2 on PlayStation alone has outsold COD on all platforms. Yeah, should we look at this? I think we should look at this. We should probably look at this. Year to date, top 20 games. Let's just test this out. Seriously, let's test it out. It's pertinent to the subject matter. It is. This is pertinent to the subject matter. Why would you bring Starfield to PlayStation? You know, and we have somebody in chat saying that, you know, PlayStation's losing on that front. You know, people aren't buying games. This right here is the top 20 games year to date, okay? This includes physical and full digital from Nintendo, PlayStation, Steam, and the Xbox platforms. It's so interesting how many of the top 20 games are PlayStation games. I mean, it just, to me, if the PlayStation users aren't buying games, then how did this happen? How did 1/3 of the top 20 games? I'm sorry, this is 5. No, I'm thinking 7. It's 5. It's a fourth. How did 1/4 end up there? One of them didn't even come out this year. Yeah, but you know, they don't buy games, bro. Come on. Quit. Like I said, quit watching content that just lies to you, bro. It's not good for your health. You find it incredible that Hogwarts is still high on that list? Harry Potter pulls, bro. Somebody said Rise of the Ronin flopped. I mean, if somebody said that, they're factually incorrect. It has exceeded the Neo. according to Koei Tecmo, they're very, very satisfied with it. It's my super chat. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Hang on a second. I missed one from Michael as well. Pro-consumer practices make people buy the brand. And then Street Shadow says, porting is not just to push... Oh, wait, hang on. What the world is... Missed my super chat. Zero Steel. Let me scroll up. I don't see it. It's not on my fan funding page. Oh, it's not a super chat. It's a member renewal. 11 months. Also to add, the Xbox install base is garbage. No reason to port there, and the devs seem to agree. Also, one more month for a year. Thank you for almost an entire year of membership, Zero Steel. Welcome back. PlayStation games not sell? Yeah. You know, 4 games in the top 20 are PlayStation games. One of them came out last year. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like people just say things that they hope are true because it makes them feel better. Right? Like, seriously, think about what you're saying. Like, it isn't even... Like, I know it's entertaining to put facts on the screen and to laugh, but it's like, what are you doing that you think that's a good use of your brain power and time to say something that just isn't true? Why are you saying it? I don't understand. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of it? No, Michael's not a troll. What are you talking about? He's been super chatting and he's been very cordial. He's not trolling. They're trying to get a reaction. I mean, I think they're doing a pretty poor job. In my mind, this is an economic discussion. This is an economic decision. You know, Starfield going to PlayStation isn't just... It's not... I already know. I guarantee you this will be described as port begging. Do you want to know why? Because port beggars see port begging everywhere. They're already a port beggar. They hate the fact that they don't get certain games. So they just presume and assume that if I'm talking about Starfield coming to PlayStation, they assume I'm port begging. Because I port beg for games that I own on 2 platforms. I own Starfield on the Series X as well as my PC. So it makes perfectly good sense for me to port beg for a game that I didn't even enjoy that much and bought in 2 places. But because they are a port beggar, like internally, that's the way they view the world. They get irritated and angry, and they hate the fact that Helldivers or Final Fantasy or Spider-Man, they hate that they're exclusive. So the minute they see somebody talking about Starfield coming to another platform, a game that a lot of the times in these situations, if you actually check the person, they've never even played the game, they're just basically angry, and they're projecting that anger onto the world. We the People with 21 months. Good morning, Lono and chat. Welcome back, We the People. If Xbox wants to release games on PlayStation, you want them to stop, go yell at them. Do we think that if Starfield goes to PS5 and sells well, that it will open the floodgates for more Xbox titles to ignore the performance parity situation and go to PS5 with all the bells and whistles? Well, I threw something out in the premiere, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. Track with me here, because I think this is really interesting, and I think this is flying under everybody's radar. And you guys may educate me on why this is an option, because I don't understand why it's an option. So I might just be ignorant here, so help me out, okay? They are offering a 30, 40, 60, and an uncapped option. Now, I threw out a very soft theory. That uncapped might be preparations for the PS5 Pro. Like, they want to have the option to go uncapped because you'd be able to go above 60. Now, again, maybe there's a reason people might want uncapped. I don't know why you would want to go beyond 60 if you can't maintain it, but you and Jez are the worst of this community. I mean, your opinion of me doesn't really matter to me. I don't know who you are and you don't know who I am, but if you have such a strong opinion of me that is that negative, I don't know why you're here helping my channel. Why wouldn't you be doing something else with your time? I don't understand. Xbox fans still have not grasped the fact that their platform of choice is not relevant enough for Sony to make it worth their time to port games to their platform. You don't matter. I mean, I don't think that they don't matter. The platform doesn't matter, Bender. I think they do matter. I think they're going to respond, and they're going to go where they see the most value. I think they matter as a consumer. I don't think they matter to Xbox. Somebody asked me today that... No, I'm sorry, it wasn't today. It was yesterday. Somebody asked me yesterday... I believe it was Insomniac Black. He asked me this in the member stream, in the behind-the-scenes stream. He said, you know, how do you think Xbox is going to talk about this? How are they going to break the news to the people that, you know, are very Xbox loyal? And I said, they don't have to. They don't have to. They don't have to talk to the Xbox loyal anymore. Do you want to know why? Because, to be quite honest, they've already got your money. They've already hooked a good portion of you with Game Pass. They don't need to talk to you anymore. They're going to start talking to the people where the money is. Satya Nadella has signaled this. If you think they're going to do another podcast like the one they did in February, I hate to break it to you. That was the last time, this is my prediction, that was the last time they're going to speak directly to the Xbox loyal. They're done talking to you. I believe that. They're going to start talking to the gaming public. Sarah Bond put that blue heart in her tweet. I'm telling you, they're done talking to you. You better come to accept that. They're going to talk to the gaming public. They're talking to the PC gamers. They're going to talk to the PlayStation gamers. Do you want to know why? They've got marching orders from Microsoft. It's all about the money. I tried to tell you guys that we're super loyal to Xbox. I told y'all last year numerous times, stop looking at Xbox and look at Microsoft. Microsoft doesn't give a single ounce about you and your loyalty to the console. They don't care. They want money. If you think Microsoft wrote a $70 billion check and is just going to sit on the sidelines and let Phil Spencer play his little Game Pass routine for another 10 years, you're a fool if you think that's what's going on. There is no way, there's no reality, there's no playbook where Microsoft got out a checkbook and wrote a fat check that size and is just going to sit back. They walked in the room and said, we're the captain now. We let you buy this. That's great. This is the strategy going forward. Exclusives, no reason for it. There's no return of investment there anymore. There's no reason to do exclusives anymore. Why would we do that? We own so much property. It makes no sense. They're like what in relation to publisher IP ownership, how large are they now? Aren't they the second? They might be racing for first. Who are they behind? Like what, Tencent? They're the second or third largest publisher in the world now. You think they're going to sit back and just do Xbox exclusives? That's a bygone era. They ain't talking to you anymore. I hate the title of the podcast, but you ain't wrong, says Doc Dark. I don't like it when you write. But Doc, I want to hug you and be like, we were both right, brother. We got so much hate for 60 FPS and Starfield, and I left you that comment. I said, we were both right, Doc. We were both right. We both knew that was bogus. We're like, the Series X can do it. Sorry, Sven, I missed your comment. Sven says, I was late to the start of the show today because of West Coast. Is this setting a precedent for Xbox moving away from console parity entirely? Yes. Yes. Baldur's Gate was the first shot across the bow. Guys, could I get 25 more likes on the video? Actually, let's just shoot for as many likes as we possibly can get. Don't just hit 300 and stop. If you haven't hit the like button, smash it. There's 700 of you here. Let's go. Come on. Pump those numbers up. You got to pump those numbers up. Let's get those numbers up. Hellfire is saying something that I think is very important. If 4 to 5 old games go to another platform and perform very well, wouldn't you at least look into what would happen if a newer game gets put on there? I'll do you one better than that, Hellfire. If you put older games or lesser-known games over on PlayStation and you are 7 of the 25 top-selling games, aren't you going to look at your biggest property next and say, what are we doing? Like, it's a business decision. This is economical. It's an economical decision. It has nothing to do with loyalty or brand loyalty. It has nothing to do with brand loyalty. It has nothing to do with your opinion or your thoughts about what you thought they were going to do or what they said in the past. No. It's all economics at this point because Microsoft is in the room. Can't believe they're mad at me again, says Doc. I'm telling you, the Series X is clearly powerful enough, but they care more about optimizing for PS5. Doc, I'm telling you, you and I both were so frustrated for the last 4 years because we bought a Series X and we've not once seen a game that was made for it. And I think that's a pretty serious indictment. That's a pretty serious indictment. It's like I bought a $500 box and you never made a game for it. You made games that run on it, but you didn't make a game for it. Right? Jez Corden dropped the bomb last night. Jez Corden is claiming that a lot of those quotes are him predicting. His predictions and opinions are informed. I think he's in the know, and I happen to think that Jez is right. I think everything's going. There's no reason to hold on to it anymore. What purpose does it serve? What purpose is a consistently updated, new and shiny, better performing, 4 different performance modes, actually 8 different potential performance options? What good is that on the smallest portion of the Xbox console audience? Oh, also on the shrinking hardware footprint that's floundering sales-wise. Why would you do that? You would only do that if you were preparing to sell the game. They are signaling, if you go watch that video and you read that blog post, it is crystal clear. They are gearing up to sell this game. That's what they're getting ready to do. It has nothing to do with, but what about the Xbox brand? Well, how are you going to get people to come to the Xbox brand? They're not worried about that anymore. Is it a fact? I don't think anybody's saying it's a fact. I believe it now more strongly than I ever have. You can believe that it's not. I can believe that it is. Kind of like earlier this year. Well, actually, let's just go to last year. Numerous points in time, I said that with the ABK acquisition, I felt that Microsoft was going to take a software approach because that's what they do, and they were going to take the property and sell it everywhere. Now, I was saying this against people saying that, they're going to make all these games exclusive, right? And I said, no, I don't think so. Now, they might try to renegotiate. They might try to get a better royalty on something like Call of Duty because they know PlayStation needs it, but they also know that 30% could maybe get shaved down to a 25 or a 20%, right? That's what Bobby Kotick did. Bobby Kotick wanted a better royalty share because he knew you need Call of Duty, okay? So I said last year, I think they're going to go the software route. I think they're buying all this software and they're going to take on more of the role of a publisher. I got a ton of hate. I got a ton of criticism. I got called a pony, whatever insult is in vogue for the week for, juvenile people. And then this year rolls over and we're like hearing whispers and rumors that Xbox titles are coming to PlayStation and Nintendo. And I had people strongly saying that'll never happen. That will never happen. They'll never put Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation. They're not going to put Sea of Thieves on PlayStation. I had people, you could hear the fist hitting their hand. They believed it. There is no way that's going to happen. What do you think now? why do you still have the confidence that you did a couple of months ago? A logical person would look at what has happened and adjust their position, not just dig in on the next line. You've just backed up and now you're just digging in on a different line. No, there's no way. There's no way they're taking first-party Xbox property to other platforms. That'll never happen. It happens. And then they dig their heels in. Well, it won't be Starfield. Why? Why? I think that'd be a good exercise. I want you to convince me that they won't move Starfield. What's your reasoning? What makes Starfield so special that they won't move it to another platform where there's an enormous Bethesda audience if you go look at the sales of Fallout 4, as I argued in my upload? 42% of the sales of Fallout 4 are on PlayStation. That's almost half. So do it. Come on. I want to hear your best argument as to why they won't do it. What's the reason? Phil said it'd be case-by-case basis. Okay. Here's what's interesting. You're so convinced it won't be Starfield, then why wouldn't Phil say, yeah, Starfield's one of the titles that we won't be moving? Why wouldn't he say that? Why? You're more confident than Phil Spencer is about it. Come on, make your argument. You know why you're hesitant to make the argument? Because you know as you make the argument, it makes for a really compelling reason to move it to PlayStation. I'll make the argument for you since you don't want to. You seem hesitant to make the argument, so I'll make the argument for you. They're never going to move Starfield, Lono. Oh, why not? Well, game's too popular. One of the most talked about games of 2023. Lightning rod game. Everybody knows about Starfield, and it's only going to get better. Huh. Those sound like really good reasons to sell it on PlayStation if you're motivated by money. Don't you see? Even in arguing that it will never go, you argue that it should. You inadvertently do. You're like, well, you should. They're not going to move it. It's a super popular game and it's only going to get better. That's a great reason to move it. That's a really good reason to move it. Do you want to know what game probably won't get moved? Redfall. You want to argue that a game isn't going to get moved, you go right ahead. You go ahead and argue that. Redfall is not going, dude. No way. Why bother? Why waste an ounce of dev time on that, dude? Why would PlayStation fans want the game? They call it bad. Here's the mistake you're making, Chris. And I don't blame you for making this mistake, but you think Twitter and YouTube is the gaming world. I got news for you. Over 8 million people bought Fallout 4 on PlayStation. That's a lot of people that would see Starfield and go, I heard about that game. I heard that game is similar to Fallout. I like Bethesda games. That's a lot of people, bro. Twitter is nothing. Twitter is a microcosm of a microcosm. It is a percentage of a percentage. It doesn't represent the gaming public at all. Do you want to know why? All you got to do is look at Stellar Blade. Look at Stellar Blade. All the controversy. It's being censored. Bleh. Let's boycott. Bleh. Look at the sales and look at the review scores. Look at the review scores of that game. Is it struggling? Is it in trouble? Is it? No, it's not, because the general gaming world doesn't give a hoot and a holler about what frickin' is happening on Twitter. I guarantee you most of the people playing Stellar Blade right now don't even know there's a fricking petition to free Stellar Blade, because we live in this little weird universe where thank goodness most people don't have to visit it, because it can be pretty dark. Doc said, who believes Starfield isn't going to PlayStation? I had someone say they're not giving PlayStation big games, as if Sea of Thieves is not big. Right, it doesn't stand to reason, Doc. Satya Nadella tells shareholders that, hey, we had 7 of the top 25 sold games over there. He's signaling to shareholders we're going to do more of this. It stands to reason that if you're making good money doing it with the smaller products, you're going to do it with the bigger products. It just makes sense. Think about it from this perspective. William Lewis with the $5 Super Chat tip says, I think the flagship Xbox IPs like Halo, Gears, and Forza will stay exclusive. I think other games are possible. I have no idea why they would even bother. What is an exclusive in 3 years? What is it? What? It doesn't mean anything in 3 years, so why would anybody care? Think about it from this perspective. Let's imagine that the porting cost to bring Sea of Thieves, Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, and Pentiment. Okay, the porting cost to bring those over was a fraction of the overall budget of those games. I think that is a fair statement to make. We know this to be true. The overall budget of the game is this much. It's a teeny tiny fraction comparatively. The game's already built. You got to spend a fraction of the overall budget to bring it to another platform, right? And because of the age of those games, the notoriety of those games, the popularity of those games, the amount of money you're going to make is somewhat limited, and yet look how much money they likely made. They were top sellers. Now, I want you to consider the fraction of the budget that it would take to bring Starfield to PlayStation, since we already know there was a PlayStation version in development, and I want you to consider the significant amount of more sales they would make from a product that is that popular and that well known. It's a business decision at that point. It's an easy decision at that point. It's like, well, it's going to be a fraction of the overall budget, and look at how much money we can make. You think Satya is going to sit by and say, no, that's fine. We want the guys on YouTube and Twitter to feel good about Starfield. Look at the achievement percentages, for crying out loud. I like the Starfield shirt. You like this shirt, Doc? I wore this on purpose. You know? Starfield's got a bright and colorful future, you know, and you can kind of see over here on the side that there's blue light just starting to hit the astronaut. You know, there's blue light out in the distance coming for Starfield. Oh, gosh. $5 tip from P-Dub H-Town. You say Microsoft is the altruistic pro-consumer company, but you don't want Starfield to be available to more players. FF16, can someone tell me those sales? I mean, Square Enix spoke to that and said they were very satisfied with the sales. They missed the higher-end targets, and people ran with false headlines because they don't understand the financial reporting of video games, and they pretend that they do. FF16, it did fine. Rebirth is in the top sales as well. I mean, what are we even talking about? There's a blue light right behind you. That's, yep. Still works. Hellfire with 19 months in VIP. I was so mad. I was given a Series S for my birthday. Nobody could console me. Oh my gosh. Thank you for 19 months, Hellfire. Do I owe you guys any members? No, not quite yet. I'll owe you a little bit more. 12 more members and we got 100 on the day. Guys, do me a favor, if you haven't smashed like yet, smash that like button, dude. Hit it. Punish it. Let's get 400 likes. Let's go. My bad, you did watch it. You left the comment. Yeah, I left a comment, Doc. I said we were both right. Oh, you might be talking to somebody else. We were both right. You know? We were both right. We got a lot of hate. You know? They're mad at us, Doc. Let's look at some of the comments. This guy says, I think my PS5 library is going to get a great game when it's all said and done, and this feels like it's ready. I've been saying the next 4 will have Starfield. Time for a 2.0 moment. It's time for a 2.0 moment on Starfield, baby. You know? Pushing to PC, bro. Honestly, not a bad choice. It's not a bad choice to go to PC. Doc went to PC. He's happy over there. I mean, if we're real, Doc just didn't want to become a pony because it would have been too hard. But I mean, Doc went to PC and he's loving it. Gifted member from Stone Spire. Gifted member from Stonespire takes us to 89. Doc, I won't tell anybody, okay? It's just between you and me. And another one comes in from Odin Arrow and takes us to 90 members on the day. Tempting the 10-bomb dunker. Stonespire, he cut you off. Odin cut off your plan, Stonespire. He knew what you were going to do. Setting up the 10-bomb agent of chaos. Here's a comment on my video about Starfield preparing for PS5. If you guys missed that video, be sure to watch it. A lot of research, a lot of time went into that video. I don't front load these videos, these live streams anymore with a monologue. And here's what Big Ego said. This is stupid. Starfield has the same chance of coming to PlayStation as God of War has coming to the Xbox Series X and S. Maybe less of a chance because Sony drastically needs money right now, and Microsoft is completely self-sufficient. I'm just responding with LOL. So, where'd that come from? Who said that? I always can tell when a green podcast is putting out propaganda. Who put out the fact that Sony drastically needs money? I had somebody say that in the live stream this morning too. Who's running that nonsense? They have one of the most successful games this year. Who's saying that? What podcast uttered that refuse? You know, things are real bad right now. Things are real bad right now for Team Green. They're just like, yeah, well, Sony's having financial troubles. What? And if they're talking about Sony instead of PlayStation, I don't follow Sony's financials. Like, what? If Sony's having difficulties on the tech side of things, I mean, I'm not sure. That could be related to the downturn from COVID. I don't know. Yeah, Sony's trying to buy Paramount Studios. They're really strapped for cash, apparently. Hang on, I missed something. What did Doc say something? Doc said, I didn't want to go to PC. They made me go. And then I find out the Series X is actually what I thought it was. Yeah, but they still made you go to PC, Doc. You and I both know. That Series X is a stepchild. They don't know that the brand. It is not a priority from the brand. I love my Series X, but I play mainly cross-platform games, and I like the Xbox ecosystem, UI, controller, and Game Pass more. I do like the Xbox interface more. I like the Xbox the shape of the console more. I do. Sony is rumored to be putting up a bid for Paramount, which is about $25 billion. Sure, they don't have money. Yeah, I mean, Sony said within gaming they were going to allocate more funding. What was it going to be, like $8 billion more, or they were going to increase it to $8 billion? I can't remember. They were either going to allocate $8 billion more or increase it to $8 billion more acquisitions for this year. So yeah, you're not going to disrespect people here. You can come in and, you know, be ridiculous all day long, but you're not going to disrespect people like that. UI is my favorite game to play on Xbox. Yeah, or controller collector. So Reforge, why do you want Starfield on the PS5 so badly? Let me guess. There's already a clip on Twitter accusing me of port begging, right? Yeah. Anybody who calls me a port beggar about Starfield is a port beggar. That's why they see the world the way that they do. I have the collector's edition, I own the game on Steam, and I own the game on Xbox. You don't have to port beg when you own every platform. I'm sorry that you don't. I'm sorry that your view of the gaming world is small and narrow and sad, but that's not how my view of the gaming world is. So I can talk about the economic reality and the breadcrumbs and the very clear signals that Starfield is heading to PlayStation, and I'm not port begging. I'm not. Do you want to know how much time I'll put into Starfield when it comes to PlayStation 5? I'll play it for an afternoon on this stream, and unless it has completely reinvented itself to the degree that like Phantom Liberty reinvented Cyberpunk, that'll probably be the extent of what I do with it. It'll have to completely reinvent itself for me to put much more time into it other than an afternoon to, like, show it off. Connor says, yes, there is. They're also saying you're wrong all the time. Let them. Let them. Keep promoting me. Keep making fun of me. Keep calling me names. Constantly admitting that you're an insecure, extended adolescent who's obsessed with my content. If you want to do that, if you want to let the world know that you're a mentally disturbed person and you want to promote my content, it'll only make it sweeter when it finally happens. All you're doing is laying railroad tracks for the I told you so moment when it finally happens. Thank you for the gifted member, William Lewis. Like, mentally stable people don't do that. I mean, you want to keep admitting to the world that you're deranged, that you're locked in the mindset of a 14-year-old. I don't care. That's fine. You keep self-reporting that you're unhappy and carrying anger in your heart. I don't care about that. I'm talking about a very clear signal that this game is being prepared for more than just, well, we want the smallest portion of the Xbox console user base to get a really nice update. That doesn't even stand to reason. It doesn't stand to reason. On the heels of a floundering hardware report, do you really think that a first-party Xbox studio was like, you know what we should do? We should really give 8 performance options to the shrinking hardware base, but not just the shrinking hardware base. We should do it to the smallest percentage of that shrinking hardware base because that makes sense. Like, making observations about that reality and Satya's comments and Phil's comments, like, if that motivates somebody to hate me, attack me, call me names, clip me, or call me a port beggar, they're saying so much about their character and who they are as a person. Like, if I see somebody make a prediction about video games and the platforms, I've seen people make predictions about, oh, PlayStation's going to go day and date, or PlayStation's going to put games on Xbox. I've never once been, like, motivated to insult or attack that person. Why? I'm not an insecure child. That's the behavior of a child. That's not the behavior of a man. You want to act like little boys and hurl insults? That's fine. They can do that. They can sully their existence. That's their choice. I'm just talking about what I see in the industry. I'm not attacking anybody. I'm not lashing out and calling people names. I'm saying, I think this is happening. I think the evidence is clear. I think the evidence is crystal clear. And if you don't agree with me, that's totally fine. You don't have to. You don't have to agree with me at all. You could be like, no, I see it completely different than you, Lono. I see them establishing the value of Starfield for Game Pass and the user base. That's fine. You can see it differently than me. Isn't that more enjoyable than resorting to insults? Why is that the instinct, right? Like, if you're creatively impotent and you have to crutch on the content of other people, that's fine. That's your limping, uninteresting existence. I'm talking about a video game that I found really interesting, that I was really looking forward to. It kind of fell on the wayside of disappointing. It wasn't really what everybody wanted it to be. It doesn't have great scores, but the developers are getting behind it. They got behind No Man's Sky. They got behind Cyberpunk. Look how often I covered Cyberpunk. I got hate all the time for that, too. They were like, you've never really given Cyberpunk a fair chance, and you just like to hate on it. And I was like, these are the things that I feel. These are the things that I believe. And this is what it would take to me to enjoy the game. And they did it. Like, Cyberpunk did it. Like, how is that not more enjoyable than just hurling hate at somebody because they're saying something that you don't agree with? Right? I don't know. Raise your consciousness. Be a better person. Just engage in dialogue, right? If you're too limited, and you have the mind of a child and all you can do is insult people, I mean, I guess that's your limited, pathetic existence. But, I believe there are far more gamers interested in having conversations and having dialogue about what people think's happening and how the industry's changing. That, to me, is far more interesting. Those are the people that I want to talk to. So if you want to come in here from Twitter and be like, why are you port begging? I don't know. Why are you juvenile? Out of topic. After the release of Lies of P and Stellar Blade, the Korean government wants to support AAA games and reduce mobile and gacha addiction in the country. More Korean games coming. I mean, I guess there's always been a concern about a lot of those Korean developers creating MMOs especially. Right? Because there's always the concern they're going to put in the gacha and the bad microtransactions and the pay to win. This is just conjecture. I'm not seeing anything online saying it's coming anytime soon to PS5. Well, it's not conjecture. It's basically piecing together what I feel are clues, right? I feel they're clues. Let me run it down for you. So my argument actually starts with 30 FPS. Because if you go back in time and you look at how 30 FPS was talked about from Todd Howard himself, you can go to the Lex Friedman interview, you can go to the IGN interview. He strongly defends not wanting to sacrifice, not wanting to hurt fidelity, not wanting to let those things go. Okay? That 30 FPS language apparently evaporated into thin air because now they're giving you 8 performance options. You get 4 frames options, and then you get either performance or quality. And then each of these frames options, you can select performance or quality. That's 8 total choices. Now, they do encourage you, if you want 60 FPS, to also pick performance. They say that you're going to have some issues if you don't. So, I look at that and I say, okay, something must have changed. The game's in development all that time, and they say we want it capped at 30 for consistency. We want it capped at 30 for the fidelity. These are all of Todd's words. So something must have changed. And if you think logically, you say, well, what has changed? It's not hard to see what has changed. Xbox has changed dramatically. We went from people ardently saying, very strongly saying, there is no way Xbox first-party titles are going to go to PlayStation, and now we have 4. And now you have the CEO of Microsoft saying, we have 7 out of the top 25 games sold on PlayStation. He's signaling to shareholders, we're going to do more of this. On the heels of that, on the heels of hardware dropping again for Xbox, you have one of their biggest studios, you have one of their biggest pieces of property doing a performance update for the Series X. And you don't think all of that's a connected thread? I don't know how to see it any other way. I've even seen long-standing Xbox guys admit, they're like, yeah, this is not for us. This isn't for us. This is they're getting ready to move this thing to PlayStation. That level of investment, that level of change and update, it doesn't stand to reason. It lines up with everything else that they're doing. It lines up with their switch in strategy. I want you to explain to me, if you don't think this is going, then let's have a discussion. If you don't think Starfield's going to PlayStation, what I want you to do right now is I want you to tell me what's the benefit in leaving it exclusive. Walk it out for me. Make a compelling argument. Calling me a pony and a port beggar just means you don't have an argument. That's an emotional response. You're just self-reporting that you're in your feelings, which is a childlike way to react to something. That's how children react. And you train them to not do that. Some of you can work on that right now. Quit speaking out of feelings and say, here's my compelling argument as to why keeping Starfield exclusive is important, or why it would be something that Xbox would do. What's the business reason for them to do it at this point? What? You make a compelling argument instead of just hurling insults. It's harder to make a compelling argument. I know it's easier to hurl insults. It's very easy. Rudeness is the weak man's imitation of strength. Being rude and insulting somebody is just posturing strength because there is no strength in that. It's flimsy. It's immature. It's frivolous. Make an argument. With this line of thinking, could you see old PS4 games ported to the Switch too? It'd be 99% positive impact for Sony. I actually don't know about that. I haven't even considered what if PlayStation would think about taking old games to Nintendo. because moving Starfield to PS5 would damage the brand. Something Phil said he wouldn't do. Phil never said he wouldn't move games to damage the brand. He never said he wouldn't move Starfield, and they've already damaged the brand in your mind. Do you think they think that way? You think it damages the brand. Do you think they think that? Do you think Satya Nadella thought that when he told shareholders that they had 7 of the top 25 games on PlayStation? He mentioned PlayStation by name. Was that damaging to the brand? Like, you aren't aligned with their view of it. Like, you have your own view. That's fine. You can be like, that's damaging to the brand. Okay, you can think that. I don't think Xbox or Microsoft thinks that. That's the difference. That's the disconnect. You're well within your rights to be like, that's damaging to the brand. That doesn't make me want to become an Xbox fan or buy Xbox hardware. Okay. That doesn't mean that they care about that. If you go to PlayStation and you're still buying their games, they don't care. Yeah, Satya said they're going to go where the gamers are. The benefit to keeping Starfield exclusive is so the sales only drop 31% rather than 62%. Stop it, Fuzzy. Jez seems to think that Xbox is going towards that PC-like direction as well. We just did a show on that this week. We said that the next Xbox is going to be more like a PC. I was already thinking of it. Tom Warren from The Verge said it, and now Jez is saying it. If that's the route you go, then there is no damage to the brand if you take an exclusive to other platforms. Phil Spencer, more recently than whatever clip you're going to go find, Turk, Phil Spencer said he wants to open up the model. The CFO says we're going to start taking our property into high margin markets. We're going to take our property to platforms that were previously considered competitors. Everybody glides over that line. Remember that line? We're going to take our first party property to platforms who were previously considered competitors, meaning they're not competitors anymore. They're not viewed as rivals. It's land to plant seed on. It's land to build on. It's where we're going to go to make money. If they no longer see PlayStation as a rival and a competitor, then you need to see it that way, or you'll never align with the predictions that I'm making. It's why you call me a port beggar, because you're stuck in the past. You're a caveman confused by my magnifying glass. Like, it doesn't make any sense to you. You're like, what's that? Like, you don't get it. You're like, well, that would be bad, and you're a port beggar. And it's like, okay, well, no. Because if Xbox no longer views PlayStation as a competitor and you call me a port beggar, you just admitted your own ignorance. You haven't even caught up to the evolution of Xbox. They don't even consider PlayStation a competitor anymore, and you still do. That's the difference between me and you. I've adjusted, I've adapted, I've accepted that Xbox isn't going to give me what I want. I spent 3 years being frustrated by how they handled this generation, and I just accepted last year they are completely changing, they're evolving, and when the CFO said what he said, I was like, yep. There is absolutely no reason for me to be loyal to that platform anymore. They don't view PlayStation as a competitor. And when you let go of that view, you no longer call someone a port beggar for saying, yeah, I think Starfield's coming to PS5. Yeah, what is the Xbox brand now? What is it? Every screen is an Xbox. Okay, so when they say that, then what's the brand? What are you protecting? Why are you even defending them at this point? What are you defending? You know what this is? This is the moment in Looney Tunes where the 2x4 went whew, and you're standing on nothing and you just don't realize it yet. You're defending a brand and a company that has completely walked away from the thing that you're doing. You're on that front line, pounding your chest and carrying the green flag, and they are not behind you. They have moved on. They have moved on. It's kind of like you keep running in front of them to be like, they're not going to do this. They're not going to put games on the competitors. And then you turn around, you're like, where'd you guys go? Well, 4 games? Oh, it's only 4 games. Then you run over to them and you get in front of them and you want to protect them from the criticism and the claims. You're like, they're never going to move Starfield. Why are you doing that, dude? Like, why defend them at this point? They have not given you a single ounce of reason this year to be loyal to them. They've given you every reason to doubt what they say. It should have been evident when they set their own marketing to the Xbox Series X and S private, because they didn't make good on the promises of those 2 boxes and the differences between them. That should have been enough to convince people to stop defending them. They sold us a bill of goods. They lied to us. And they did it again and again and again and again and again. They said what was convenient. And they walked out in February and they disrespected your intelligence. Go back. Go back with clear eyes and watch that podcast where Phil Spencer says, only 4 games. Those 4 games are not Starfield and Indiana Jones. And then he quietly goes to The Verge and he's like, nothing is off the table. He doesn't respect you enough to speak straight to you. He gives you this smoke and mirrors nothing podcast. And everybody celebrated the podcast. And I got more ridicule and I got more hate. Why? Because I was like, they didn't say anything. I was like, and if you listen carefully, he doesn't even commit to you that Starfield won't come over. He's playing a shell game with you. If you can't see how much he disrespected those who ardently defend Xbox, those who bleed green, if you can't see the level of disrespect in that podcast, then even I can't help you. I can wave my hands, I can raise my voice, I can go on a 25-minute rant and pass out from loss of oxygen. You can't be convinced that the brand is not the brand that you once thought it was. You're defending something that doesn't exist anymore. That's the fundamental disconnect. I went through this process over a couple of years. I was like, what the heck is going on? Where are the games? What is happening? Why am I not getting Series X performance that I was promised? What's happening? And then I slowly realized their approach is not at all going to benefit me. It's not what I want. It's not what I need. It's not what I bought into. And I think the beginning of this year, it's happened at such a breakneck speed. I think people are just in denial. You're just in denial about it. My wife says he's never passed out from lack of oxygen. All those first-party studios, and for what? I'm telling you. Yeah, I've defended Phil in the past when I believe there were times where he was wrongly accused of lying. But when he did the interview with IGN about the Series S and it's not a hardware problem, oh, buddy, I filleted him for that. I filleted him for that. I was like, it was completely... That was one of the most unprofessional things I've ever seen Phil Spencer do. I thought it was garbage what he did in that interview, and he paid the price the next day. Larian walked out and said, you know what? Say my name. You want to tell the public that it's not a hardware problem and it's a developer choice? Here's a developer choice. You don't get split screen. Take Baldur's Gate 3 or leave it. They frickin' ran PR damage control for Xbox's garbage hardware choices. They did that for 6 months, and Phil Spencer had the nerve to sit down with Destin from IGN and to be like, it's not a hardware problem. It's a developer choice. How'd that work out 24 hours later, Phil? I lost so much respect for him at that point. Instead of celebrating their game the game of the year last year, instead of Larian doing a circuit of interviews about their great game and their vision and the passion and the work that went into it, they're doing interviews about why the stupid thing isn't on Xbox, running damage control for your bottlenecked piece of trash. And then instead of just backing them on that and saying there are challenges when developing a game for a system like the Series S, but we're committed to helping them and committed to getting this game to the market, instead of doing that and standing shoulder to shoulder them, he stabbed them in the back. It was ridiculous. Ever since then, and especially with the podcast in February, I've been like, you can't trust a word this man says. I've always liked Phil. I used to defend him. I always thought the Xbox showcases were better than the PlayStation showcases. Back in 2019, well, no, PlayStation wasn't there. 2018, 2017, and 2016. I always thought the Xbox showcases were better. I always thought they were better. But when he did that to Larian, I was like, that's garbage, Phil. And he knew what he was doing. It didn't surprise me at all that 24 hours later, Larian did what they did. You want to tell the world it's our fault? Okay, fine. That's exactly right, Brett Williams. That's exactly right. Phil sent a message to third party that he'll throw them under the bus. You wonder why third-party developers are questioning going to Xbox? Look at what Phil did to Larian, and you've got your answer. So you mean to tell me that if we develop our game for Xbox, we have to do extra work for the Series S, we have to strip the game down in order to get it to run on the Series S, and it's the smaller platform, so we're going to make less money, we're going to sell less copies. And if we have to bring the game to Xbox later, Phil Spencer will inadvertently blame it on us. He's now set the stage. Think about what Phil did. Oh gosh, the lack of foresight here is just absolutely brilliant. Phil basically created a narrative where if an Xbox game, if a third-party game comes to Xbox later, Phil set the narrative. It's on the developers. Do you want to develop a game for a platform like that? Do you want to do that? You want to spend your blood, your treasure, your bandwidth, those sweet investment dollars? You want to spend all that time and money building a game for Xbox, and if you have to come a little bit later or stagger your release to Xbox because of the challenges, you have now basically been preemptively blamed by Phil Spencer. It's your fault. It's your choice. You did it. If I was a third-party developer, I'd have been having the same discussions. Why are we doing this? And then 2 games this year already have had to announce that they're coming to Xbox later. I'm sorry, William Lewis. Thank you for the $2 Super Chat tip. Let me go back. I hate missing Super Chats. I was in the middle of a full-on rant. I got $1 from Frank 10. Thank you, Frank 10. And I got $10 from William Lewis. He says, I think the move is to boost Game Pass, only my opinion. Their attitude will be something like, hey, you can buy our games on PlayStation, but if you want to play them on Xbox, it's included in the Game Pass sub. I actually don't agree with you, William Lewis. I think Game Pass has been deprioritized. I don't think it's going to be as front and center as it used to be. It's not really even front and center now like it used to be. They're in the business of selling games now. Didn't Phil throw the Redfall devs under the bus? No. In his apology, he said that's on us and we're committed to fixing it. It was ownership combined with commitment. It was very professional. No, I don't think Redfall will come to PlayStation. That's a big call. No, I don't think so. I think Game Pass has been deprioritized. Phil Spencer told the Brazilian regulators that it will only ever amount to 15% of their annual revenue. It's not the focus. It's plateaued. The growth is plateaued. Now, he sees opportunities for Game Pass to grow in the Asian market, Japanese market, I believe, on PC. There's opportunities for it to grow on PC. I think they're going to continue to try to grow it, but I don't think it's the central focus anymore. That ship has sailed. That plan has failed. If you think the results they got from that is going... If you think Satya is going to let them keep doing that, I don't think so at all. I think Satya is going to say, we are in the business of selling games now. That's our job. That's what we're doing. We don't write a $70 billion check to promote Game Pass. We wrote a $70 billion check to have property to sell. It's a shift. It's a complete shift in strategy. To think, track with me, Donnie, to think that they're going to go through the dramatic changes that they're going through this year, but still prioritize Game Pass, I don't think that stands to reason. You can't completely shift in all of your strategies and thoughts and approaches to being a profitable gaming enterprise and continue to prioritize Game Pass. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I think Game Pass will continue to be a thing. I think you'll still do day and date as they committed to on the podcast, but I think it's going to be a footnote. It's going to be at the end of the trailers, and that's basically it. That's it. Because Game Pass, I believe, will be their bridge to getting cloud adoption rates. It's like, oh, that game's really popular. What's Game Pass? Oh, Game Pass is on my TV. Game Pass is on my iPad. Game Pass is on my phone. Right? I do think it's their bridge into cloud and it's their bridge into ecosystem building, but I don't think it's like the primary focus of these titles that they purchased. It's like they're wanting to sell them. Personally, I think I said this yesterday in the member stream. I think Xbox's long-term strategy is to use all this property they've purchased to subsidize growth in cloud and ecosystem. Game Pass is certainly a part of that, but I think that's the strategy. I think their 20-year plan is we want to be the biggest cloud ecosystem, biggest cloud gaming ecosystem in existence. That's why Phil said in the past that they see Google and Amazon as their true competitors, because that right there, that's the new land. That's the unsettled land out there in the distance. The unsettled land is the cloud. The freaking console war's over. It's over. The unsettled land, the unclaimed land is cloud. And I think they see these games and being a publisher, that's how they fund it. Think about it. When Phil Spencer did the Famitsu interview, and the interviewer's like, well, what brought about this change? He says, is Minecraft. They looked behind the curtain on Minecraft, and after a couple of years, they were like, we're thinking about this all wrong. If we own property that is this lucrative, look at how much money we can make. And then what do? They put a plan of action in place to buy up property. Like, I've made this reference many, many times. It's like that moment. It's like that moment in The Founder, the movie about McDonald's with Michael Keaton. It's like that point in the movie where BJ Novak is in the bank. BJ Novak is from The Office. He plays, his name just freaking left my brain. That's so weird. Can't believe his I know his real name. Anyways, BJ Novak basically tells him, you're in the real estate business. Ryan, thank you. BJ Novak plays Ryan in The Office. So it's like that moment in The Founder. BJ Novak's like, you're in the real estate business. And it completely changes the way that Michael Keaton's character views his plan of action. And I think Minecraft was that BJ Novak moment. It was like, wait a minute. We are not in the console warring business. We are in the property selling business. Like, if we can get property and sell it, that's where the money is. I mean, for goodness sakes, look at the money Apple makes. They make more than all of the publishers and platforms combined, and all they do is take 30% of every purchase. They don't even really make games. I mean, they have some of their own games. But it's like, that's not even really where their money comes from. Apple gets it from just basically being a platform that sells games. And it's like, okay, that's where the money is. So obviously, Microsoft can't do what Apple has done necessarily. They can't overnight build an entire storefront where they can scrape 30% of every purchase. Like, look at Steam. Steam's another great example. How many games has Valve put out in the last, decade? They're primarily focused on making money off the software sales. So if you buy a bunch of property, sell it everywhere, make a bunch of money, and then that funds your ecosystem, that funds your push into cloud, that funds your attempt to go out to the undiscovered country of cloud gaming and the cloud ecosystem. That's the point of all of this. That's the point of all of it. Why try to be a platform? There's more money to be made in being a publisher in an ecosystem. There's way more money to be made on those fronts. That's why I keep telling people, it's like you're defending a brand that doesn't exist anymore. This Xbox thing that you think you're defending, like a new Xbox console, oh gosh, give it up. That's over. It's going to be more like a PC. That's why Sarah Bond keeps saying hardware. So to think that, like, this is why, to me, I argue so strongly. Like, I'm trying to give you a picture into why I so confidently think that Starfield's coming to PlayStation, because it's like, there's no reason to play by the old playbook anymore. The old playbook is in the bin. It's burned up. It's gone. It's done. There is no page in the new playbook that says, but we need to keep Starfield. We need to protect Starfield. We need to keep exclusives. It's gone. That vocabulary is been retired. There's an update coming. Starfield will have up to 8 performance options for you on the Series X only. Guys, if you haven't done so already, let's push that like button. Let's get to 500 likes. This guy said, LOL, stop it. I said, LOL, no. I look forward to everyone saying Starfield is great for a change. I'm saying it'll be a dramatically different game by the time it happens. I think it's going to be a dramatically different game by the time it comes over. I really do. I think it's headed to having a 2.0 moment. I firmly believe that. I think it's going to have a Phantom Liberty Cyberpunk moment. And I think that'll be the new battleground. That'll be the new console fight. It'll be, oh, it's a good game now, right? This is actually a little bit of beauty and comeuppance in the situation. What I love about this is that you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. If you try to celebrate all these great updates and all these great improvements and 60 FPS, if you try to celebrate how much the game has improved and how great Shattered Space is, you can't do that and then tell people, oh, now it's good on PlayStation. They'd be like, no, yeah, we agree with you. They've made a lot of great improvements. Don't you see? If it's a completely different game, if you spend the next 9 months praising Starfield for all the improvements, all the updates, and all of the great things that they've done, then what you're doing is you're preemptively agreeing with the PlayStation guys that are like, well, now the game is worth playing. You can't have it both ways. You can't spend the next 6 months, 9 months praising all the changes, all the great updates, and talk about how Shattered Space is revolutionary, because I believe that it will be. I believe that's going to be the turnaround moment for the game. You can't do that and then ridicule people for saying, yeah, we kind of agree when it comes to PlayStation. We're going to play that. We're looking forward to it. Do you think pubs think twice about releasing future incomplete games? Yo, what's good, Lobo? Do you think loading screens will be removed? Well, it's interesting because I think the loading screens will be dramatically faster. I think that's an update that's coming. I do. I think there's an update coming where they figure out how to speed up the loading screens, especially for Series X, SSDs, especially for PS5. I think they're going to figure out how to speed them up. I don't think you can do it when you're exploring the planets, though. You'd have to completely reinvent how exploration on a planet works, because the way it works right now is you drop down and it generates a tile. If you go to the edge of that tile and want to go to another tile, it has to then do that again. And the limit is like 5 per planet. So if you generate a 6th tile, the first tile falls off, right? Now that obviously is probably related to memory constraints or just the internal engine of the game and limitation. Who knows? But, yo, Ant with 32 months, welcome back. So they'd have to completely reinvent how that works if you were to say, oh, yeah, we're going to remove loading screens. I don't think they can remove the loading screens. I think they can speed them up. Right? Yeah, like Ghost of Tsushima had loading screens and then it got updated and they're basically gone. When you fast travel, it's like the screen goes black and then comes back up and you're in the new place. I don't know if they can leverage, you know, things in the PS5, like with the data controller. A lot of people focus on the SSD, but from what I understand from people that are much smarter than me, it's not just the SSD, it's the data controller. It's how it basically utilizes the SSD. It's not the SSD by itself, right? Oh, you're a magical SSD. It's like no one ever said that. That's just been a complete misrepresentation of the marketing. Because, you know, that's a great way to make money. Ant with a gifted membership, welcome back. So from what I understand, it's the data controller. So I don't know if they can, if they could potentially leverage that and say, hey, you know, we on the PS5 figured out a way to basically get rid of loading screens. Listen to me. It would be by the time it comes out, it would be like the 7th or 8th game that runs better on PlayStation. Like, just accept that that's happening too. Like, the next gen update to Fallout 4 runs better. Sea of Thieves runs better. Hi-Fi Rush runs better. Like, I would just accept that that's going to happen with Starfield as well. The pattern is set. To your page in the playbook point, says Melrose Mike, it's as if Xbox has gone through a rebranding. They just didn't tell the public. I'm sure why they haven't. It's just how it looks. I felt like the signs were there last year, and then we got confirmation at the beginning of this year. If these ran better, yeah. Mm-hmm. They're marginal differences, but they run better, yeah. Mm-hmm. If you go look at the breakdowns, the Xbox guys have been pretty unhappy about it. They've been pretty unhappy about it. They've made videos, they've made tweets. They're like, this is a freaking joke. You know? There were some people that were pretty unhappy about the Fallout 4 Next Gen update running better on the PS5. Which... that's the creation engine. That's Bethesda. Make of that what you will. I mean, what do you want me to say, dude? Like, what do you want me to say? That it's just, you know, make of that what you will, dude. That Fallout 4 in the creation engine, a lot of similarities to Starfield. Got a next gen update and it runs better on the PS5. I mean, Gavin says, avoiding a direct question after the podcast about Starfield being ported was what did it for me. Yeah, I think that if you, like, track with me here, you know, those of you that are like, no, Starfield's never going to go, like, track with the logic here. If Xbox had a pretty good list of people, if they had a good list of games that are just not going to move, then I think Phil would have said that. I think he would say, there are some games that are just too integral to the brand to take to other platforms. But he doesn't say that. He makes it clear everything's on the table. And a lot of people, I think, rightly theorized, they said, listen, if this goes well, they'll do more. Satya Nadella seems to have indicated to shareholders that it's going very well. So, it's done. at this point. It's why guys like Jez Corden are predicting he's not saying this will happen. He's predicting it will happen. There's a difference. It's why guys like Jez Corden are like, yeah, every game. I think he's just accepted it. I think he just knows. He's heard enough and he's seen enough to say, yep, this is happening. Everything's going. You know, those quotes of his are circulating, and he has said, listen, these are my opinions, these are my predictions, but he's also said these are informed. Like, he's not just shooting wildly in the dark. He's looking at what's transpired over the last 5 months, and he's like, yeah, why would you think otherwise? Seriously, why would you think otherwise? I guess would be my question. You know? Time to make back the $70 billion. That's right. You think Xbox is gearing up to take over? It's like a secret invasion and we will all be shocked? What do you mean by that? Like, flesh that out. Take over what? What will we be shocked by? Them bringing games to PlayStation and Nintendo and the games selling very well. What do you think, what's that going to lead to in your mind? Where are we, what's this future that we're headed to where you think they're going to take over and we'll all be shocked? Like, put meat on the bones for me. What do you mean by that? Like, Tencent owns a bunch of games and they sell very well. What has Tencent done? Like, what do you think Xbox is going to do here? Do you think in the Xbox showcase when they announce games, they'll announce with the Xbox and the PlayStation logo? I think this Xbox showcase will be it'll be the beginning. I think Sarah Bond has already signaled that. I think when she put the green and the blue heart, I think she knew what she was doing. You got to watch out for her, man. She's slick. She's very smart. I'm telling you what. I think she's the new face of Xbox, and I think she already signaled that this showcase is going to be very different. I don't know if I would put money on the table that we don't even hear the word exclusive in the showcase. Well, we'll hear world exclusive. We might hear that, but I think they're gonna talk about games that are coming to PlayStation for sure. Yeah. They want to be on every screen? Yeah. Yeah, I think anybody who's publishing games wants to be on every screen. Look at what Call of Duty was doing before they were even owned by Microsoft. Look at what they were doing. They were everywhere. They made a mobile version of Call of Duty, and it generates a sick ton of money. Look, PUBG did it. Fortnite did it, right? Now, Apex tried it, and for whatever reason, I don't think Apex translated well to mobile. They deprecated that, did they not? They shut that down. But I don't find it surprising at all that if Microsoft is leaning more into a publisher role, that yes, they would want their games on every screen, because that's quite literally what publishers do. They look for every opportunity of locations to publish their property. You know? Yeah, I told everybody that Anya Taylor-Joy was very, very beautiful. I got so much hate for that. Everybody's catching up. They're like, oh wait, maybe Lono was right about that. I thought she's so pretty, and everybody was so mean. Sarah Bond is smarter than Phil. She's scary smart. True witty with a 2-spot. Does Sony want to be on every screen? It's different strategies. It's different business principles, Tori. I think you're struggling to see that. Nintendo and PlayStation are not doing what Xbox is doing. Xbox lost the console fight. They're basically saying, okay, we lost that fight. Let's go a different route. What did Sega do? The court cases were very telling. Telling about what? You're not making an argument. You're not making a cogent argument. I don't understand what you're saying. If Xbox is going the publisher route and they want to be on every screen, that's why Nintendo and PlayStation aren't doing that, because they're not trying to become publishers. They're platforms. There's a difference. Nintendo has sold over, like, what is it now? Like 130 million Nintendo Switches. They don't give a frick about being a publisher. They don't care about that. That's not what they're trying to do. Now, reality can change. In 20 years' time, maybe Nintendo has said, hey, look, we can kind of do both if we want. You know. Thank you for the 2 spot from William Lewis. You can't watch her because of her eyes alone? Her eyes are quite literally her selling point. What do you mean? Like, that gives her such a unique look. It makes her so recognizable. You fundamentally don't understand the differences between Sony and Microsoft as companies. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's just completely different approaches to building a business and maintaining a business and growing your business. They're not the same. The tweet by Sarah Bond with the green and the blue heart, I think, was more or less Xbox and Blizzard. If it's what you say, Xbox, PlayStation releases, then holy crap, the blowback is not going to be good. Let me explain something to you, Alex. The blowback at the beginning of this year, do you know what that is now? Nothing. Nothing. It's vapor. You want to know why? Because they took the games over to PlayStation, they sold like crazy, and all is well. A whole lot of nothing. All that blowback, all that anger. You see all the tweets, you see all the meltdowns. Lono gonna get clipped because he can't read? What are you talking about? Oh, he said, I can watch Anya Taylor for her eyes alone. Oh. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. I'm sorry, I misread that. Yeah, I think her eyes are gorgeous. It's what makes her immediately, you're like, whoa, who's that? Like, it makes her iconic. It gives her like a look. He was so good in Split. Oh my gosh. He did such an excellent job. That's a tough movie too, to act across. Oh my gosh. I'm having a hard time with names today. I'm getting old. PlayStation is the ownership traditional model. Xbox is the rent, wider market, and service type of product model. Yeah, I mean, if the idea that like, oh, Xbox is going to take over, but take over what exactly? If you suddenly become a really, really successful publisher, as Satya Nadella has said multiple times, they think they can be a really good publisher. Well, okay. Okay, what are you taking over? How do you have power in a platform-driven market? How do you have power as a publisher? Like, is EA taking over? Is Tencent taking over? Taking over like what? That's the point. It's like what? That statement doesn't make any sense. Like if you're... Yeah, McAvoy, James McAvoy, thank you. If you suddenly, like, let's imagine that Netflix abandoned the streaming platform business model and they went into publishing their own shows and movies to put on Amazon, Hulu, Disney, right? Let's say Netflix decided to do that, okay? That... You wouldn't be like, oh, Netflix is about to take over. You would say, oh, Netflix abandoned the streaming platform fight, and now they're just publishing content on Amazon, Disney, and Hulu because it's easier to make money that way. They're not having to deal with the cost of the infrastructure. They're not having to deal with the churn of subscribers. Right, like that's what Xbox is doing. They're not completely abandoning becoming a platform, but they're primarily pivoting and saying, yeah, we're going to publish games. And it's like, that's not going to change where people go. It's not going to change how many Nintendo Switches are sold or how many PlayStation 5s are sold. You can't tilt that. They're not trying to tilt that. You think Starfield will be received better on PS5? I said that I believe that Starfield could have a 2.0 moment. I believe that. It's on this channel. I have a video right now on this channel that says that game can learn from Starfield. I have said for a long time, I've been consistent on this. I didn't just say this today, because I've been getting hate for a long time about my coverage of Starfield because people don't watch my coverage of Starfield. They see a 30-second clip where I'm being critical of the game and someone says, here's this pony hating on Starfield again, right? They don't take the time to come and listen and watch. They don't watch how much I played the game. I tried to give the game a fair shake. I said I was starting to turn the corner with the game, and then I played Phantom Liberty. And I said, you know what? Starfield needs to learn from Cyberpunk. It needs a moment like that. And I believe that it can pull it off. I've had people argue with me, and they have said, no, it cannot. It cannot have a Cyberpunk moment. I've had people say, no, there's too many foundational problems with Starfield. And I've always pushed back. And I've said, I thought the same thing about Cyberpunk. And they pulled it off. I put in 22 to 25 hours in Phantom Liberty last year. Completely changed my mind, completely won me over. And I have said on multiple occasions that I believe Starfield can do the same thing. So if they commit, and when I covered Starfield doing updates every 6 weeks this year, I said that's their goal. They're going to update the game every 6 weeks. They're going to create a great runway for Shattered Space. They're going to have a 2.0 moment, and then they're going to take that really nice, polished up, complete package, and they're going to bring it over to PlayStation. That's not hate. That's not port begging. That's just basic observation about what happened with Cyberpunk, what seems to be happening with Starfield, and what it seems to be that Xbox is doing. It's all logical. It's all reasonable. It's all very non-scandalous, right? It's very easy to see things, I think. None of this is crazy. This isn't like concocting some crazy theory in a basement with yarn on the wall. It's like, no, I think this is very easy to see. There's nothing standing in the way of a game coming to PlayStation at this point. There's nothing. Look at what Xbox is doing. What's standing in the way? What business principle? What commitment? Right? Stonespire gifts another member and takes us to 94. Stonespire's probably going to do another one and take us to 95. Somebody get ready for the 5-bomb dunker. We're going to hit 100. I'll gift you the final 5, and then we'll head to Writer's Room. Let's do it. Let's hit 100 members on the day. I'll gift the final 5. That'll be 120 new members on the day. 100 from you, 20 from me. Let's get this. Let's get this done. And then we only need 100 tomorrow, and then I'll play a rage game tomorrow night. I need to find a rage game. Maybe we could spend today or tomorrow afternoon trying to find it. That's what we could do on Fridays in VIP. We'll figure out, if we hit the goal, we'll be like, all right, let's find a rage game for Lono to play. Starfield's map update is night and day compared to what it was. Is there a picture you can show? Yeah, it's in the upload. I did a video this morning. It's a 13-minute video. If you guys haven't seen it yet, be sure to check that out. Xbox might have brought more access to games toward the consumers, but they haven't brought anything quality. Joker Quinn decides to tag team with Stonespire and takes us to 95. Sorry, Stone. I thought I knew what you were doing. I spoke too soon. There you go. Joker Quinn's got your back. There's reasons why you get games like Redfall on Xbox, but Sony releases games like Returnal and Horizon. I don't think that Redfall is Xbox's fault, though. Redfall is ZeniMax's fault. ZeniMax... Hang on. ZeniMax basically... And Stonespire says, I'll do it! I'll slam home the 5, and Brian slams home another, and that takes us to 101 on the day. I owe you guys 5, and we can get out of here. Well, I mean, if you guys want to go crazy, we got a little bit of time to burn, but I'm gonna get us out of here after I do my 5 here. We got to go to Writer's Room. We got work to do. Well, actually, I don't even know what we're going to cover tomorrow. We'll have to go look at the news feeds. I haven't seen much just yet today. Did you read what the devs said? What's going on? The tiles of the zone might be smaller, but the entire map is larger. But the planet in Starfield are orders of magnitude larger than the map of Skyrim. Oh, you guys are debating the size of the maps. Okay. Fuzzy isn't talking to you. Okay, sorry. Yeah. I would never put Redfall at Xbox's feet. I've always said that was ZeniMax's fault. ZeniMax told Arcane to build a live service multiplayer game, and Arcane was like, we don't want to. We don't know if we can. And either they didn't have good communication with ZeniMax or ZeniMax didn't listen. ZeniMax is responsible for Redfall, not Xbox. Xbox let the game release that way, though. Yeah, I mean, okay, on that part, I would agree with you that Phil should have walked in the room and said, cancel this. This is trash. Let's just take a bath on this. I believe it was pretty disrespectful to the user base and those who were on Game Pass and those who were waiting for the game and those who pre-ordered the Bite Back edition. Yeah, I believe it was pretty disrespectful to ship the game. I'll agree with you on that, but that's a very nuanced way of looking at it. ZeniMax is the reason Redfall is in the state that it's in. Like, if you want to be like, yeah, we don't get quality games from Xbox, but it's like, well, yeah, but that was ZeniMax's fault. If you want to pinpoint problems developmentally and why Microsoft is acidic to the creative process, we could look at Halo Infinite and what they did to 343. I have a lot of concerns about the future of all the property underneath Microsoft's ownership because of how they treat the studios and how they treat the property. I have concerns that they're going to try to get a handful of studios to clamor together to build Fallout 5 because they're going to want to capitalize on the popularity of the Fallout TV show. That's another concern we talked about yesterday. Microsoft's going to corporatize the whole dadgum thing. Do you think that's the question I have for people? What makes you confident right now that Microsoft cares about developing really quality games? Now, the pushback might be, well, they're entering the buy-to-play market. If they want their games to sell well on Nintendo or PlayStation or PC, if that's their goal is to make money, then they're going to start to price quality. Well, maybe. Maybe. You can't refund games on PlayStation that simplistically, so if they start shoving out games and they market the heck out of them and millions of people buy them, that might be profitable for them, right? Like, if you turn the thing into just a corporate cog machine of just like cranking games out, that's a concern. Up to this point, they have prized cadence over quality because they want to keep the cadence of Game Pass up. So they'll ship garbage like Redfall, or they'll ship something that's so incomplete it gets garbage scores like Forza Motorsport. It's in such bad state that they don't do competitions with it. There were planned events that were canceled. That's how bad Forza Motorsport is. These guys can screenshot Metacritic all they want and claim review bomb. Forza Motorsport's a disaster, and so is Redfall. Well, you're going to get those, and you're going to get games before they're ready when you're worried about the cadence of Game Pass. The hope would be that once you start selling games on PlayStation, you think, no, you can't do that. It won't sell well. You'll get bad scores, bad reviews, and then the game will tank and it won't sell. Especially now that PlayStation has put the stars right there in the storefront, you can see the review scores. I don't know. We'll see. I don't have confidence in Microsoft. I don't like Microsoft. I don't think they're good for creative process. That's not like Xbox hate. That's just observational skills, like just looking at what they've done over the years. But we got to go to Writer's Room. We hit 100 members. I gifted the 5 I owe you. You guys crushed it. You guys absolutely crushed it this week. We basically needed 90 members today and 90 tomorrow, so we'll just set our sights on 100 tomorrow as well. And if you want to come to a stream where we plan the next day, you should become a member right now. If you didn't get a gifted member, click join. That way you can come with us. And if you can't come with us, go watch my upload. It's the title of the upload. It'll be the featured video on the channel. It's called Starfield is Preparing for PS5. Please go check that out. That will help me immensely. Anybody who hasn't seen that video yet, go watch it, hit like, leave a comment. The rest of us are going to go over to the Writer's Room. We're going to go over to the Writer's Room and we're going to plan tomorrow's show. Thanks so much for being a member. Maybe you got gifted a member. Maybe you've been watching enough to get that gifted member. Maybe you signed up for a membership. You now get access to behind the scenes. You get to see us make the shows, come up with the ideas, the POVs, the thumbnails. You also get to come to Friday night streams with my wife. And if we get another 100 members tomorrow, we will do a Rage game tomorrow night, and you can help me pick out that Rage game in the VIP stream tomorrow. So that is a benefit of being a VIP if you do want to upgrade. If not, thanks so much for being here, watching, liking, subscribing, and getting those gifted members. If you've been gifted a member for a while, consider upgrading and picking up the membership yourself. We would love to see more and more people paying for the memberships to make room for others. I'm going to end the stream about Starfield coming to PS5, and I'm going to redirect people over, and then I'm going to change that thumbnail. So